Hello, and thanks for joining us for Broncos Postgame Live. I am Phil Milani alongside Nick Ferguson. The Broncos fall to the Raiders in overtime, 22-16. We got a lot to break down, unpack here from this game. Nick, another disappointing loss for the Broncos.
Yeah, another disappointing loss for the Broncos. But I have to tell you, Phil, in the first half, I thought the Broncos established somewhat of a new groove with a new offensive guy calling the plays and Clint Kubiak. We saw Russell on the center more than we've seen him this season. And the run game, as though it wasn't really explosive, but it was quite efficient. So I had high hopes for this team, but as always, they find a way to lose the ball game.
Yeah, I mean, what happened in the second half? Because I agree with you, Nick. It looked good in the first half. Things were rolling. They had a chance right before halftime to actually extend that lead. Weren't able to do that. And then in the third quarter, once again, the Broncos find a way to not get the ball into the Raiders' territory at all. And then in the fourth quarter, it's just such a tight game, always week after week with this team.
Well, that's the one thing. You know, bad teams find ways to lose close games. I know usually coaches would tell you when a team loses a close game like this is because they play great defense, but sometimes you have to learn how to win games like this. But unfortunately, once again, it's rinse, repeat cycle for the Denver Broncos. You talk about Melvin Gordon fumble with the chance to score or at least set up an opportunity for the Broncos to score. Right after that, the field goal is blocked. It's just like, how many times have we seen this movie to know exactly how it's going to end? But once again, the weeks change, but we're looking for an M. Night Shyamalan twist, but it seems to work out every single week the same way. I mean, come on, Phil.
You mean he's still alive?
Yes, he's still alive. Yes.
Come on. Well, this game unfolded just like Nick said, like just a lot of the games the Broncos have played this year. Their 9th one-score game out of 10. I mean, it's hard to believe. Let's show you some of the highlights here, how things unfolded. Nathaniel Hackett giving up play calling to Clint Kubiak, and the Broncos' opening drive looked really sharp. Here it's Kendall Hinton, the Hall of Famer, making a heck of a grab there. He dives for the end zone, ends up just being 1 yard short, set up Latavius Murray for the 1 yard score. It's the first opening drive touchdown for the Broncos this season. The Raiders, though, bounced back. You knew Davante Adams would find the end zone, 31-yard touchdown there. His 9th receiving score of the season, leads the NFL, and you knew this game was going to be tied. Of course it went to overtime, and in overtime, it really, 2 plays here that killed the Broncos. Foster Moreau, the Raiders tight end, his first catch of the game, good for 33 yards. And then Davante Adams, the game winner here from 35 yards out. He is wide open, and he waves goodbye to Broncos country. The Raiders go on to win 22-16, and the Broncos fall to 3-7 on the year. Looking at some of the numbers here, not your usual day for the Broncos defense. 109 rushing yards for Josh Jacobs. He had another great performance. Seems like he always saves his best for the Broncos. The Broncos 3 for 12 on third down. Their struggles there continue, and just 320 yards of total offense. It seemed like things were going well, Nick, especially when the Broncos kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter there. It felt like, and they went up 16-13. You felt like, hey, this was going to be the time.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. We felt as though, once again, watching this game, the team was establishing some of the rhythm. Obviously, you know, what the defense was capable of. And at that point, Josh Jacobs wasn't hitting his stride. So the idea was that, okay, well, this would be a game that the Broncos jump out front. We know the Raiders have found ways to lose the game. So the idea was that this was an opportunity for the Broncos to strike while the iron is hot. And unfortunately, like you said, I mean, the defensive unit that's played well all season long, somehow, once again, they seem to falter against Josh Jacobs on the ground.
I mean, it seems like the Raiders, they had 2 weapons, really. Josh Jacobs, he had 24 carries for 109 yards, and Davante Adams, the other main weapon there. Adams, 7 catches, 141 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Well, here's the other weapon that the Raiders deploy, but, I mean, you look at the numbers and they kind of hidden. It's the offensive line. The offensive line did a great job down the stretch, giving Derek Carr time to find Foster Moreau, trying to find Davante Adams on both of those touchdowns. And the last time we saw this Broncos defense facing against the Raiders, they knew what they were up against as far as giving up yards on the ground, but we didn't expect for them to give up 2 explosive touchdowns like they gave up to Davante Adams.
Well, we got a lot to get to here on Broncos Postgame Live. We'll talk about Russell Wilson's game. We'll talk about what happened with this defense. We'll talk about 6 consecutive losses to the Raiders. But for now, let's go out to Empower Field at Mile High and check in with our A-team. It's Alexis Perry and Eric Delau.
Thanks so much, Phil. You know, another close game for both of these teams. Unfortunately, the Broncos are not able to get it done in overtime. Can you put into perspective, Eric, just how crushing this loss feels at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, Alexis, because you feel like you've got a chance here to knock off a division opponent, beat the Raiders for the first time in 5 tries. Obviously, they come in with a big winning streak here against the Broncos. Haven't beat them at home since 2019, and you feel like you have a chance to do it. It's a 3rd time this season. You go up 10-0, and it just feels like no matter what, the Broncos are just finding ways to lose these games, and so it is difficult. I mean, any semblance of playoff hopes that were left, they get a little bit worse here today with this loss, and I'm sure, you know, the fact that the loss came to the Raiders just makes it even worse for the guys.
Sorry about that. Looked like some technical difficulties there from Alexis Perry and Eric Delau there. But, Nick, they were mentioning the Broncos had a chance to snap a 5-game losing streak to the Raiders. You never want to lose to the Raiders 6 consecutive times, but I guess it makes it sting a little bit more that it's against us over in black.
Yeah, the Raiders week is always a tough week if you are a player or you're a fan of the Denver Broncos. And knowing as though you've lost to them as many times as you have, there was kind of fans holding out hope like this was going to be the game that the Broncos were able to turn things around. But now when you look at the bottom, not just of, you know, the AFC division, but just the conference within itself, I mean, now you're in the cellar with the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's kind of a tough spot to be in. But this is going to be a disappointing loss for the Broncos. And we saw how the team responded last week when they lost to the Tennessee Titans. So I can only imagine what the emotions are going to be like at the podium, but more importantly for this team moving forward, knowing as though they lost this game at home, 6 consecutive losses to your division rivals and the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to lose a bunch of games in a row to the Chiefs. You know, they're one of the best teams in the NFL, but now 6 in a row against the division rival, the Raiders. It's tough to swallow. The Broncos dropped to 3-7 on the season. Let's talk about Russell Wilson's game a little bit. A new guy in his ear, Nathaniel Hackett, giving the play calling duties to Clint Kubiak, the quarterback's coach. What did you think about how Russ played today? It seemed like they got the ball out quickly. It seemed like they were doing some positive things.
Well, I was really impressed with what I saw from Russ. We know Russ has been under a lot of fire as of late, not getting the ball out of his hands, having problems, you know, connecting with his wide receivers. But once again, going back to the first half of the game, I thought Russ did a great job working from under center, but also in the shotgun, checking plays at the line of scrimmage, making the quick throw. Not the ill-advised throw, but making the quick throw. Still some issues up front with the pressure, and they were still getting after him, but still at the same time, Russ took a lot of shots from linebacker Denzel Perriman. But the one thing I was happy about, he was still able to look down the field and throw the ball. And the biggest thing for me, we saw Greg Dulcich get involved. We saw Kendall Hinton get involved. Obviously out of necessity, but still you have some weapons on this team, and you saw Kubiak wanted to actually showcase those guys and get the ball out of their hands because Max Crosby is a beast outside. But once again, he has the offense number, and he was really disruptive today.
Russell Wilson sacked 3 times in this game, better than the 6 times he went down a week ago. But they did find some rhythm on the offensive side of the ball. Let's go back out to Empower Field at Mile High right now and check in with the Broncos head coach at the podium.
First, I just want to say my prayers and condolences to all the people that are suffering from the shooting. This past evening is something that we all think about and is such a horrible thing. But just wanted to be sure I said something about that. To the injuries, Chase Edmonds did not finish. He's got an ankle. And Jonathan Harris did not finish. He's got a knee.
Yeah, Coach, two-part. First one, just explain why handing over the play-calling duties to Clint Kubiak, and then I'll follow up.
With that, for me, I want to do whatever I can to help this team. We're so close. We continually talk about this over and over again, a couple plays here and there, and there's a lot of different outcomes. And I have to look at myself first, see if there's something that I can do to give some kind of a spark to the offense. So I thought it would be good if I kind of stepped away from that, let Clint get upstairs, be able to see it from a bird's eye view up in the box, and see if that would help us and allow Justin Allen to be down on the sideline, talk with Russell, talk with him about the runs. And so I thought that would help us. And so I wanted to be sure I had that opportunity to give that to him.
And then secondly, it turned out the final result, much like previous games, you scored 16 points. You had a 10-0 lead like last week, and then the offense couldn't sustain it. What was the problems in the second half especially?
Yeah, we need to keep looking at all the different things that we're doing. We need to be sure that we're moving the chain, scoring points, finishing drives. Had a chance there at the end of that first half to get some more points, and we came away with nothing. It's unacceptable. We can't do that. We got to score a touchdown. At least get the field goal, and we didn't come away with either. So that's frustrating, and we got to keep on working to get Cortland the ball. All the different things that we can do, get Latavius going. I thought he had a pretty nice game. So got to find ways to score points.
Melvin was in on the goal line on that fumble. Are you involved in that rotation, or because he's doing some good things, but he's had issues clearly fumbling? Where's the decision in terms of him being in the game at that point? Because that fumble seemed to change the momentum.
Yeah, he's scored a lot of touchdowns down there. For us too, he's been in our tank package, our goal line package. He's had a lot of opportunities there, and he's scored a lot of touchdowns for us. And so in that situation, he's got to be smart with it. He can't fumble. He knows that. You just can't do that. That's unacceptable. And, we got to find a way to get the ball in the end zone. And at that moment, it was Melvin. And we had another running back go down. So we only had two. So he was in there. And can't fumble it.
Nathaniel, what was the conversation like over the course of the 2-minute warning and then coming to the decision to throw the ball there on 3rd and 10? Rather than running it and taking the time off the clock?
Yeah, we were discussing on whether or not we wanted to run the ball. We want to get ourselves a chance to be able to close the game out and win it. So we called a pass, and you got to keep the clock running one way or the other. Whether you take a shot down the field and you try to go up, maybe get a PI opportunity, because if you do catch it, you have a chance to win the game, and it's great. If it doesn't, the one thing, we just want to be sure that clock is running if we can, unless we have a chance for the shot to win the game.
Hey, just following up on that, just why was there that notion where did you say to Russell anything but an incompletion, or at that point are you just saying we're running this play?
Well, we communicated we wanted to be able to take a shot down the field, and we wanted to try to be. We knew what kind of coverage they were going to be in, but if something happened in the pocket or anything like that, that's one of those situations you can take a sack, or you could just run the ball. But we didn't want. Obviously, we want the clock running in that situation.
Nate, you said earlier this week that every day you're always coaching for your job. Is that still on your mind about your job moving forward? And also, have you talked to George or Greg about your future?
For me, everything's about this team and this staff. I've told you guys that before. I just want to do everything I can to help this team win. We've been so close. We've had so many opportunities. We've had a lot of things happen this year that are unfortunate, but we have to continually find ways to win. That's my sole purpose. That's all I'm looking to do. Whatever happens, those things I can't control. And always communicate with everybody, talk about everything, show them all the different things that are going on so they can have all their answers, their questions answered, and go from there.
Nate, operationally, did everything go the way you wanted with the switch of having Clint upstairs and Justin down there and freeing you up? Were you happy with that part of it, and is that going to be the plan going forward?
We'll evaluate it. Like we say, we're always evaluating everything, but I thought that everything went really smooth. I thought Clint did a good job working with Justin, getting the plays that they wanted to get in. I thought the operation was fine. I thought, again, that first half, there was a lot of good stuff. I think that if we have an opportunity to score some points at the end of the half there, I think that momentum's a little bit different. But from moving forward, we'll see how it goes.
Nate, it's been a recurring theme, but just kind of from a slightly different vantage point today. you guys continue to create 10-0, a 10-0 lead for the second week in a row. You have the offense going in the first half, and then the second half just not duplicating it. What did you see today that wasn't working in the second half that was in the first?
Yeah, I need to get a closer look at it after watching the tape. I'll probably be able to get a better feel for it. In the end, you got to convert. It's the same stuff. You got to convert on third down. You got to be able to run the ball, protect the quarterback. All those things are the things that we got to be great at, and we just got to find ways to be able to do that.
Final two, Pat Graham and then Eric. I know you haven't seen the film yet, but what happened on that breakdown on the game-winning play there? Do you have any sense what happened?
Yeah, I was watching the pass rush. Looking back, obviously saw Davante was open. I imagine there might have been a match or maybe somebody fell off or something like that. So we'll have to look at the tape and figure that out. It was pretty crazy at the end there, so didn't get to talk to the defensive guys yet.
From an offensive standpoint, Crosby had another couple sacks. What sort of problems did he pose for you guys? And then Josh Jacobs on the other side of the ball.
I give so much credit to the Raiders. They did a great job. I mean, Max is one of the best players in the NFL. I mean, he's a dominant defensive end, and he continually shows that. And he got the 2 sacks, and it's one of those things. We knew that he was going to be a threat, and we got to do an even better job, being able to handle him. And Jacobs is a very good running back. I mean, he ran hard. There was a lot of contact. The guys were hitting him, and he was moving them. We knew they were going to run the ball, and he did a nice job again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that's Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett after a disappointing 22-16 loss to the Raiders in overtime. We're back here in studio. I'm Phil Milani alongside Nick Ferguson. Let's talk a little bit about what he was saying there. The reason why he gave play calling duties to Clint Kubiak, thought maybe it would give a spark to this Broncos offense, and he also wanted offensive coordinator Justin Outten down on the sidelines so he could talk face-to-face with Russell Wilson.
Well, I love that. First and foremost, let me say that I love the fact that Coach Hackett was able to make the adjustment, but I'm sure most people in Broncos country are wondering the same thing that I'm wondering. Why so late, right? Better late than never, but why not do it earlier in the season? Because if they felt as though there were some issues with Russell and having his coaches on the sideline, being able to have that one-on-one communication, that dialogue, go ahead and make that change early in the season. And something interesting Coach Hackett said, that the Broncos will have to see, he will have to see moving forward, whether they continue to allow Clint Kubiak to be the play caller. For me, even though the Broncos did not win today, I think right now that's kind of the best solution, because for about 10 weeks, we saw what it was like with Coach Outten up in the booth and Russell on the field. So let Clint Kubiak continue to navigate this offense and let's see what they can pull together.
Yeah, and, Nathaniel Hackett, that's big of him to say, look, I tried calling the plays. I'm going to give that up now because I want this team to have success. And then Hackett's allowed to sort of manage the game as a whole here. What kind of adjustment is that for a guy like Russell Wilson, though, a totally new voice in your ear?
Well, to be totally honest, how big of an adjustment is it? Because the one guy that spends the most time with the quarterback is not the head coach. It's not the offensive coordinator. It's the quarterback coach. Clint Kubiak has been working side by side with Russ since he arrived. If anyone knows Russ better than anyone else, it is Clint Kubiak. So allow him to sit with his quarterback, design plays that he feels will get him into a flow and a rhythm. Once again, we saw that today, right? The Broncos didn't win the game, but let's keep things under wraps and I guess really think about what it is that we saw. They had wide receivers that were injured, so you had a makeshift mash unit going out there trying to make something happen and make magic. But what happens when you get back at Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, and you have a Clint Kubiak who's developed that chemistry with Russ and knows exactly what he wants? To me, we all been asking a question. What's going to happen with this Broncos team moving forward? I think Coach Hackett, I'm not going to say saved his job, but this gives us a glimpse into what the Broncos should do or could do to make this season and maybe next a better outcome.
They definitely found some rhythm. I mean, it looked like things were operating. Quick passes, Dulcich, Melvin Gordon on the side, Latavius Murray got going, and that was all, like you mentioned, without Jerry Jeudy, without KJ Hamler, so they were missing some explosive guys. Let's talk about one situation right down at the end of the game here. The Broncos they have the ball. They're trying to run out the clock here. It's 3rd and 10 after the 2-minute warning. Okay, the Raiders don't have any timeouts left. They let Russ throw the ball in that situation instead of run it and then just punt the ball. He rolled out instead of taking the sack, he threw an incomplete pass. The Raiders, after that, had a bunch of time to try and make something happen here. 143 left because of the incomplete pass. What do you think about that sequence, and what do you think the Broncos could have done differently?
Well, hindsight being 2020, you say, hey, Russ, eat the ball, take the sack. But let's keep this in mind. Russ was sacked 3 times in this particular game. And in that situation, when you go back and look at the route, to me, if Russ could have actually got it into the hands of a wide receiver, it could have been a big play for the Denver Broncos. I mean, he made the right throw. He was still under duress, but you wonder what was going through his head. Probably Russ, and all the criticisms, like, how can I try to make a play? And he tried to make a play, and it ended up being the wrong play from a time-stamp standpoint.
So you like the idea, hey, give the ball to your best player, let Russell Wilson do something instead of just running it and conceding and giving a punt.
I mean, yeah, let's go back to the first game of the season when we first got a chance to see Russ. Russ wasn't allowed to get an option to pick up that, I think it was 4th and 5. McManus came in and kicked the field goal. So with the game on the line, a lot of criticism. Russ is your quarterback. You're paying him a lot of money. Put the ball in his hand. Just so happens, pressure was right there in his face. He really couldn't get the ball out to the wide receiver, and it seems that there was still a little communication issue between he and the wide receiver. He connects that pass, you and I are not having this conversation.
Game over. Yeah, exactly. So that was one situation, and then the other one that probably led to some of the way things unfolded here right before halftime. The Broncos are driving. If they get a score there, they go up 17-7. Going into halftime, they get the ball back first in the third quarter. But instead of a first down with Melvin Gordon, he fumbles the ball. The Broncos have to kick a field goal. It gets blocked. No points right there. That's just, to me, an example of how when a team is 3-9 or 3-7 now, that's what teams like that do.
Yeah, let's take it to boxing for a second. A round is starting to close out. They give that final little click sound to let you know the round is almost over. Now you're looking to throw that jab that you want to. You've been holding off, waiting to throw it. But guess what? Now a guy comes with a counter because he's a southpaw, and now he puts you on the canvas. That's exactly how that particular play fell with the Broncos. They're ready right there to deliver that overhand blow to now get the W, but now something happens. Now you have a blocked field goal. You go into halftime deflated, but you also know that you're going to come out and you're going to receive the ball. So even though you didn't score points before the half, you still have an opportunity to score points. And I think that was kind of like a quick 3 and out, give the ball back to the Raiders. So another missed opportunity for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, good teams, they score there before halftime, and then they score again, and then they really create that separation. But like you mentioned, the Broncos go 3 and out to start the third quarter. What do you think is going on with the third quarter here, Nick? Because the Broncos all season long, they've scored 10 points on the offensive side in the third quarter.
Well, it's simple execution. I mean, we've seen it. We look at the penalties, right? For the Broncos, I mean, miraculously, we don't have an issue here.
Yep.
But the Broncos had 5 penalties for 45 yards. Usually that's a bugaboo for the Denver Broncos, but not today. The problem was guys missing their block. Russ still being under duress. Calvin Harris, Cam Fleming, those guys not being able to hold up when they needed to. And I know you are playing against one heck of a player, Max Crosby, but at some point, you need one of those guys to win. If you win, now there's extra time for Russ to find the receivers, even though he was delivering the ball with quick strikes. So once again, it's just like everyone at any different time in the game found a moment to have a letdown, and that's something that has led to countless losses for the Broncos, and again today.
The third quarter, it's certainly been tough. The one positive here, the one touchdown for the Broncos, Latavius Murray, he was with Sidney Jones inside the locker room.
Thanks, Phil. We're here with running back Latavius Murray. Latavius, first drive of the game, you guys go down and score that touchdown, but you got the offense weren't able to find the end zone again after that. What kind of changed after that drive, and what did you like about that drive?
We were able to move the ball, and we finished. We had other opportunities, and, when we were down there, missed opportunities, field goal, got to score touchdowns in the red zone. It's kind of the same story.
What was Coach Hackett's message to the team here in the locker room after the game?
We just, tired of the same song, right now. making plays, opportunities out there. So, just tired of the same song right now.
For you, Latavius, how do you want to see this run game be more consistent moving forward where, there's still 7 games left of the season here?
Yeah, we all got, a job to do, a responsibility to do, regardless of when it's going good or when it's going bad. So, I need to come to work and improve. Everybody on this team, I think, can find something to get better at. So that's what we need to focus on and just finish.
Latavius, as a vet, what's your message to maybe some of the younger guys on this team?
I think exactly that. Again, things haven't gone the way we want it. And so, but, we got a job to do. We got a responsibility to do. And so come into work and find something to get better at. End of story.
Latavius, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Phil, back to you.
Thank you very much, Sydney. That was running back Latavius Murray, who scored his 3rd touchdown of the season for the Broncos. We are back here in studio with Nick Ferguson. Nick, let's talk about the defensive side a little bit, if we will. Not what we're used to seeing, especially there in overtime. Gave up the 2 big plays. Seemed like maybe a couple of missed assignments there. And then also Josh Jacobs had a big day running. He had 144 yards rushing in the first match of this season with the Raiders. Today he had 109 yards rushing.
Yeah, not the typical output that we're used to seeing from the Broncos defense. And I know the narrative is going to be, well, the defense was tired because the offense could not move the ball in the second half. We talked about the woes in the third quarter, but it wasn't that. The guys were in position to make plays, and they didn't make plays. And that's what the game comes down to at the end of the day. You go back to the outside rail route against Josey Jewell. That became a problem. You look at Alex Singleton. Both Josey Jewell and Alex Singleton had a great game, but once again, they came up and they gave up plays when they shouldn't have. Alex Singleton, Foster Monroe, tight end runs past you, you're playing some kind of man coverage. You have to know if the tight end is running off the ball, and I know Josh Jacobs had 109 yards running, but if a guy's coming at you, you have to know it's no longer a run, it is a pass play. So you had that particular play, and then you had the 2 breakdowns in the secondary, which you cannot have because they lead to explosive plays. So uncharacteristic output from this Broncos defense, but we saw it when they played the Raiders early in the season. When you wanted the defense or you needed the defense to stand up, they couldn't make plays. But once again, man, it's same old song, right? I mean, you heard Latavius Murray talking about it, and it's the same old song over and over again. I know those guys in that locker room, man, I know they're hurting. I know they're frustrated. But once again, go back and watch the tape, and you'll see several plays were left out there where they had an opportunity to win this ball game.
It does feel like that. There was some opportunities out there. Let's hear from Draymond Jones. He met the media inside the Broncos locker room.
Even after that big play where they scored, we all came here together, and I saw the look on everybody's faces that we meant what we say, that we're a team, and no matter what the record is, we're going to stick together regardless.
Draymond, what's so tough about stopping Josh Jacobs in that run?
His ability to bounce out and get to different levels and miss tackles. We didn't do the best job out rallying to him defensively. He kept getting leaky yardage, it should have been a 1-yard gain, ended up being a 4-yard game, and so on and so forth. He just did a good job.
How frustrating is it? Another loss to the Raiders. This is 6 straight now for the Broncos.
It's kind of debilitating a little bit, not going to lie. You do get pissed off. You do get mad at yourself. But, the best thing you do is move forward. We got a good group of guys in this locker room. We got great coaches. Our front office is great. We just have to find a way to win games, no matter what. I'm annoyed just as much as, our friends are.
Is there anything in particular that defense can do a little bit better? I mean, you guys continue to hold teams to 24 fewer points. Is there any secret magic that needs to change?
We can score. We can create some more turnovers. We didn't do any. We didn't create any turnovers today. Missed some opportunities. We always preach about tips and overthrows and how we got to get them, and we didn't get them. It's many things we could have done better, no matter what we were ranked, whether it's total yards, rushing yards, whatever you want to name it. There's always room to improve, when you lose.
Is that what makes it tough for Draymond? It just seems like it's such a great locker room, guys with character, want to win so badly, and yet you come so close but don't get over the hump?
Yeah, it sucks. It's probably one of the best locker rooms I've been in, with one of the greatest coaches I've been a part of, them being so young. It sucks because part of it feels like all that hard work's for nothing a little bit, but you always got to remind yourself that, we're a team. We're going to bounce back. It's more weeks to be played, so.
You guys are professionals, but is there a point where you just kind of want to win for Coach?
We want to win for Coach, but we want to win for ourselves. I've been here for 4 seasons. Losing's been a trend, and I'm pretty sick and tired of it. It's hard to go home and just say at least I get paid. I don't care about that. I want to win so bad. It hurts. Coming from a program like Ohio State, just winning so much, and then you come here, you just lose these little games. You lose in overtime. You lose by 3 points. You lose by 1 point. At some point, it just gets tiring. But I do have a great group of guys that I'm with that can pick my head up when I'm down too.
That's Broncos defensive lineman Draymond Jones. Pretty revealing there a little bit, Nick. Huh? The last question there, he answered that honestly.
Yeah, this is what we come to know from Draymond. He's not one of these guys that bite his tongue. And when I think about him, he reminds me of the NBA Draymond Green. Not as vocal and aggressive, but he's really telling about what he's thinking inside. You just heard him say, hey, listen, I came from Ohio State. I'm not used to losing. I've been here for 4 years, right? And losing has become somewhat of a trend. So when I heard that, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, I know Draymond is a guy whose contract is up at the end of the season. Is he subtly giving us hints of what he might be thinking? Because losing can weigh on you. Sometimes when you come from winning programs in college and you lose in the pros, some players get accustomed to it. Look at the guys in Cleveland. But he is a guy that played, top-notch football at Ohio State. He doesn't want to get used to losing, and there's so many people in Broncos country who feel the same way Draymond feels, because as a guy that came from the Jets, and I couldn't beat the Patriots, I couldn't beat the Colts, guess where that happens? When I joined the Denver Broncos. So there is a standard that has been in place, but it hasn't been lived up to those expectations thus far.
You think it's more frustrating, Nick, losing the way the Broncos have lost? 6 one-possession losses. 9 out of the 10 games have been one-possession differences there. Then is it worse to lose that way?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, when you get blowed out by 20, from the very beginning, I'm being blowed out by 20, and there's no way that we can make a comeback. But when you steadily losing, consistently, close games, and you feel defensively or offensively, you're doing everything that you can during the week. Preparation, halftime adjustments. You're doing everything, and you still find ways to lose. Not just losing those one-point games. 4 overtime losses this season the Broncos have surrendered to their opponent. Yes, it weighs on you mentally. And listen, I respect Draymond for being honest and being as candid, and he did not say what he could have said or what he would probably say once he's in his car driving home. But it is frustrating to lose games this close, Phil.
Yeah, and I think that, like he said, it wears on you, especially the last couple of years. It just starts to wear on you a little bit because you feel like this Broncos team has talent. The injuries have piled up here for the Broncos recently, but at the beginning of this year, you could have said this team might make a push for a Super Bowl run, certainly the playoffs, but then, to be here at 3-7, getting ready for Thanksgiving, nobody saw this coming.
Well, first of all, I never thought the Broncos were ready to make a Super Bowl run just yet. Couple of pieces short, right? But I thought that this was going to be a team that had the ability to push for a playoff spot, not what we expected. Those expectations were elevated once Russell Wilson was acquired. They have not lived up to those expectations. So I understand the frustration of Broncos country. I hear it. I see it every day. Fans come up to me and talk to me about it. I understand. This is not the standard that we are used to, but this team has to find a way to look within themselves and say, well, we're not making the playoffs. What we need to do is play for one another and try to make sure that we continue to get better as the weeks go on. When we look at the Broncos and their average point total, we're talking about maybe 16 points a game. That's the bottom in the NFL. if you want to start making changes and focus on a couple of things, start there first. But also defensively, you have to say you've been playing well all season long. For 3 quarters, you played well. Now you got to get back to what you were doing at the beginning of the season, finish all 4 quarters of football. Now you give this team an opportunity, and that's all you want at the end of the day.
Yeah, coming in into today's game, the Broncos had the best scoring defense and the worst scoring offense in the NFL, and that sort of explains why all of these games have been so close. Let's go back inside that Broncos locker room and hear from linebacker Josey Jewell.
Back next week and, just fix all the negative stuff and try to come up positive.
You've seen some up and downs in this locker room. It seems to be about as down as it gets. What do you say amongst yourself to try to, finish the season on and up here? A lot of football to be played.
There's no reason to give up right now. Do it for yourself, do it for the team, do it for the people you care about. So we're gonna keep on going and keep on playing our hardest.
Josey, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. You guys have sent it back.
What went wrong against Josh Jacobs today? He didn't have any big rushing plays, but the big pass play went over the 100-yard mark.
Yeah, it was just situational stuff.
How do you unload this? When this is it's almost a sense of deja vu, the way this football team loses games so close, so far. Can you just give me a sense of how you unpack that and mentally how you stay sharp?
Yeah, we just need to finish games. It's that plain and simple. We do well in the first quarter, second quarter, third, and then we just need to keep that throughout the fourth quarter and stay consistent. And then this game, we need to bring that to overtime. We had a couple too many missed opportunities and means for us.
What is it about the Raiders and your AFC West opponents that kind of guys have your number right now? You guys have beaten the Raiders in 3+ years. Is there anything particular about that?
Great question. I wish I knew it.
Another honest moment there from Josey Jewell at the end, who had one heck of a game, almost had an interception, had a sack earlier on there. Nick, let's talk about Davante Adams for the Raiders here. Probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. 7 catches, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Broncos here today. Did you like how the Broncos, well, obviously those numbers don't suggest it, but
right.
Do you like how they game planned initially, like the idea, the scheme was good? Or would you rather just say, hey, let Pat Surtain, the second, probably the best quarterback in the league, go up against Adams, the best wide receiver?
Yeah, I would have chose to do that because in the first meeting, that seemed to work well, putting PS2 on Davante Adams. Davante in that first matchup, he had made his catches, but still a lot of those catches were made finding a soft spot in the zone. And you go back to last week when the Raiders played the Colts played a lot of zone coverage, and Davante Adams once again hurt them offensively. And a guy that talented, you want to challenge him at the line of scrimmage. You want to make things difficult for that offensive line and Derek Carr to find some of the rhythm. But once again, remember what we know coming into this game. No Darren Waller, no Hunter Renfrow. So there's only 2 options for the Raiders. It was Josh Jacobs and Davante Adams. So I love how the Broncos started off covering him, but once we got into that second half, it seemed like it was more zone coverage, and we saw with the 2 touchdowns and explosive plays what Davante Adams can do to you when you play zone coverage.
On the other side of the ball, Russell Wilson accompanied that first drive of the game. Let's talk about that a little bit. The quick passes, it seemed like they were just rolling. They found some rhythm there. Greg Dulcich was in the mix, Kendall Hinton. The Broncos made the most of the weapons that they had today. They didn't have a Davante Adams to go to.
No, they didn't. But this is where, Clint Kubiak, we wanted to see, well, what was he going to do, knowing as though, hey, this is your first time being the signal caller for the Denver Broncos. But, yes, I thought the quick passing game was something that was brilliant, and it took the pressure off the offensive line, knowing as though that was a unit that was beat up, and you had some guys who were beat up playing with guys they've never played with or hadn't played with consistently. And then you look at your 2 tackles, you have Calvin Anderson and Cam Flemings, and you have to say, well, Cam Flemings isn't 100%. Now, I don't even know if he's 80%, but I give him credit for trying to get out there and make things happen. But once again, one-man wrecking crew for the Raiders. It was Max Crosby. And one thing this dude was doing, he was chasing down plays from the backside. And you think typically outside linebackers, defensive ends, they don't do that. So for me, starting out with the quick passing game establish somewhat of a rhythm. And here's something I'm just slightly disappointed with, even from the Broncos to the beginning or even to now. You play in the altitude. That defense is not used to playing in altitude. And we saw the Broncos starting in that fourth quarter go to more of a tempo. And we saw them wearing down the defense. I was like, man, let's do more of that. We didn't see it. Hopefully, if Clint Kubiak remains the signal caller, we don't know based on what Coach Hackett said. Hopefully, if he remains, now we see more of that.
Yeah, on that field goal drive, it felt like that. They got the ball to Cortland Sutton. They got the ball to Melvin Gordon on the outside. They got a little bit of pace, rhythm, tempo. Those things tend to work for the Broncos offense. Let's hear from Kendall Hinton, the Hall of Famer. Got some of his memorabilia in the Hall of Fame when he started the game a couple years ago as a quarterback. Let's go back into the locker room and hear from him.
Yeah, this stung. I mean, we knew the situation. We knew, what this game was. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to hurt. I let it sting tonight and prepare next week, or prepare tomorrow for next weekend.
Kendall, you guys moving the ball. You had some catches. Did you think early on, like, today's the day we're going to put up 28, 30 or something like that? Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, I mean, this is not the first game we've, connected and got some good drives going. I think it's just a matter of being consistent. So no, I didn't, feel like I was, this is going to be a crazy game. I just thought, let's continue to execute. Let's continue to be consistent.
Kendall, how did you like the rhythm of the offense, how it was being called? First drive, give me a sense for what the difference was out there today.
I mean, it's tough to say. I think we picked up the tempo on those guys a little bit, but I think we just executed well that first half. Coach Kubiak, he was calling plays today. I just think we executed well.
Do you feel like there's a sense of rhythm, even though it might have been short-lasted for the first few drives that you guys didn't punt as much as you had the last few weeks?
Yeah, we definitely caught a rhythm. We caught some momentum. We were making plays. We see what we can do when guys are clicking.
Do you think you were in on that touchdown?
It was close. Yeah.
Thanks, Kendall. Is there a point where you guys are almost, it seems like everyone loves playing for Coach Hackett. Did you guys feel like maybe we got a win for him just to take the heat off him a little bit?
Yeah, everybody loves Hackett. No, I don't think we're playing for our coach to take the heat off of him. Everybody in this locker room wants to win, and that's what we're playing for. We're playing for everybody. We're playing for each other, playing for the organization. So yeah, I think guys are we're playing for each other.
As Broncos wide receiver Kendall Hinton, he had 3 catches for 57 yards and almost a touchdown here today. Back here in studio with Nick Ferguson. Nick, the Broncos sitting at 3-7 at that point in the season where maybe you start to look at some individuals, see what kind of talent you have on this roster moving forward. Kendall Hinton certainly one of those guys. Who are some other guys maybe you're going to keep an eye on here down the stretch? See if the Broncos have some hidden talent on this roster.
Well, one of those guys is Brandon Johnson. I know they brought him up from the practice squad. Didn't really see a lot of action, but if we're going to go several other more weeks and no Jerry Jeudy, no KJ Hamler, I said put him in the game and see what happened. Also, Jalen Virgil. I mean, he was kind of, even in the loss, he was kind of the darling of the offense for the Denver Broncos. Didn't really see him get involved that much. A guy I definitely would love to see more, Montrell Washington. Here's a guy who's been known as a punt returner, kickoff returner. Let's try to find ways to get him a little more involved. And when you are in a desperate mode or your back is against the wall like the Broncos are offensively due to not having a lot of wide receivers outside the numbers, you have to try and exhaust almost everything. So hopefully these guys get more opportunities, and I would love to see more Greg Dulcich.
A guy like Montrell Washington, I wanted to ask you about him, a returner who seems to be struggling right now. I mean, a little bit of indecision, unsure whether he should field the ball, let it bounce behind him. Do you think just getting him more comfortable out on the field, playing a little, maybe some offense, just getting him more familiar with the game a little bit, that could help ease his feeling out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I go back to my days with the New York Jets. And we had Santana Moss, who was drafted in the first round out of University of Miami. And they have some of the similar skill set. Santana was a little more explosive. But as a young guy, when they're punting those balls, they're kicking those balls off, and you're not getting that many opportunities, knowing as though you're not getting opportunities on special teams and on offense, you're trying to turn every single play into a big play. And I think that's the thing that he is kind of struggling with. He wants to make plays. So if the Broncos were able to get him a little more involved with the offense, get him a couple more touches, you won't see him trying to press as a kick returner or punt returner.
Yeah, sometimes people are saying, hey, he's struggling, get him out of the game. Maybe the opposite might be true. Just get him a little bit more comfortable out there. Who knows? I mean, I'm willing to try anything, I guess, at this point, Nick. You mentioned another guy, Greg Dulcich. He had 4 catches today for 30 yards. He also was talking inside the locker room.
I mean, we were kind of hard to really say. I just listened to the play call, and I kind of just trying to do my job. So, yeah, I can't give you great insight on that. Sorry.
Very much the conversation like at halftime. You guys are up 10-7.
Yeah, I mean, and we're moving the ball well, and we're just saying let's keep doing that, let's keep executing, and we got to finish. Because 3 points is great, but we want 6. So, yeah, it's just a matter of paying attention to those details and getting it done.
6 lost by a touchdown or less. What's the conversation like after the game, and how does that?
Yes, same sort of thing. We just got to get over that hump, and we will. We got a great group of people, really good organization, so we're going to get there.
Yeah, what's the frustration level there? You talk about you were moving the ball real well in the first half, last couple of games. What do you think was different in the second half, and what did it feel like for us?
Hard to say, really, just other than not executing. And we all got to be better. We all got to kind of look at ourselves and see what can we do to take that next step. So.
And that's pretty much all you can say if you're a rookie tight end in the NFL here with Greg Dulcich, just doing what the coach says to do and see if this thing can turn around down the stretch here as the Broncos lose to the Raiders in overtime, 22-16, fall to 3-7 on the year. A couple things left to talk about here with you, Nick. The Broncos, for the second game in a row, jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Where do things go wrong for this team at that point? Because you think if you just get one more or something like that, you feed off the momentum a little bit, then you could avoid these one-score games.
Yeah, well, usually what happens in these types of games, Phil, is there's always a letdown. And the letdown either offensively or defensively. You heard Greg Dulcich talk about it right there. It was about executing and learning how to finish. They moved the ball down the field. Let's be totally honest. It wasn't as efficient as we would like as fans, but at times the Broncos moved the ball down the field, gave you a lot of hope that, hey, listen, once they got into that high red zone, 20 yards going in, then that was at least putting them in a position where they can kick a Brandon McManus field goal, or gave you the hopes that maybe they would be able to punch it in. But when you're not able to finish drives, that is something that leads to you losing games, obviously. And if you want to improve as a team, you have to find a way to put the ball over the goal line and score points. I know it's easier said than done. I think that this team is capable of it. They are showing it. They showed it today. But it was always a play here, a play there, and that's been the storyline of the Broncos season here in 2022.
It does feel like in some of those key moments, if you just make 1 or 2 plays, you can really put a team away. Do you subscribe to the theory that the ball just bounces well for teams that know how to win, teams that know how to lose, it tends to bounce the other way?
No, it's not necessarily, the follow the bouncing ball. It is just you need your impact players to make impact type of plays. And the Broncos had players in position. Kareem Jackson was in a position to make a play, but he couldn't. The ball came off the hands of Josh Jacobs. And Josey Jewell had a chance to, I would say maybe that play would have sealed the game, but I'm not going to hold Josey Jewell to that and say, hey, listen, that play was the play that cost the Broncos the game because it's 4 quarters, it's 60 minutes. There are 22 guys on either side of the ball that have an opportunity to make plays. Cortland Sutton missed a catch himself. Russ was off on the throw. So it's every single player, every single game making somewhat of a faulty play. And when you are beat up the way that the Broncos are, you can't afford to have your impact players make those types of plays.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, there were a few times where the Broncos really could have put the ball away, but Gordon fumbles. Or you miss an opportunity for a turnover there. Or even after a 2-minute warning, you convert their game over. So many chances that if you just make one of those, it's a different outcome. You're not going to overtime, and things are much better here. Nick, last thing for you here. It's a short week. The Broncos, with Thanksgiving, I consider that a holiday week there, a little bit of a short week. What do you want to see before they head out to Carolina to play the Panthers?
Well, I want to see a group of guys that recommit themselves. It's something about the holidays and being around your family that changes your mentality. Usually that happens during the bye week. But once again, I'm going to look at this Thanksgiving, week as another bye week, another opportunity to have self-reflection. Because right now, no one's thinking about playoffs. They're thinking about winning the next game. And even though the Broncos have now dropped 2 games in a row, you can come out, get yourself together, be ready to play against Carolina. And I'm not saying it's going to make everyone forget what's happened thus far, but a win can cure a lot of things around here.
Yeah, one win. It's a week-to-week league. Can really help you feel better. Nick, are you a fan of Thanksgiving? You like Thanksgiving?
Oh, of course, man. I mean, that's food. Wait a minute. First and foremost, who's not a fan of food? I am a fan of food, and I love Thanksgiving because you get family, you get football, and you get a chance to eat.
Yeah.
Food.
It's a good holiday.
Yeah, the 3 Fs, as I call them.
Well, Nick, we searched deep into our archival footage, and our friends at CBS 4 here in town helped us unearth this.
No. Gobble, 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 gobble. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Is that like yada, 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 yada for Thanksgiving?
Gobble, gobble. Gobble, gobble. Gobble back at dinner. Woo!
Good save?
Wow, you really dug that deep in the crates on that one. I don't even remember that guy. Who is that guy? Gobble, 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 gobble.
Some good memories, huh?
Yes, great memories, great memories. And we won that game, and I had an interception, too.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So, gobble, gobble.
Good memories from that back then, from your playing days. Hey, we just heard word that Russell Wilson is at the podium. We're going to say goodbye as we toss it over to Russell Wilson, who's speaking at the podium. For Nick Ferguson, I am Phil Milani. This has been Broncos Postgame Live.
As we have the wireless microphone.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah, Russ, you've had so many of these close losses. Do you think it's, you're not good enough to win these close games, or is it a fact that this team is still trying to figure out, after 5-6 years of losing, how to win a game, especially when it's on the line late?
Yeah, I think that we're on the learning end of the experience of how to get back to winning, and sometimes it's a journey, sometimes it's an ugly one, sometimes it's a tough one, What hurts probably more than anything else, I would say, is just that these games are close, They're one-score games, and we have to be able to find ways to win them. I think it'd almost be it's never good to lose, but it's almost like, man, at least somebody kick our butt, I feel like we can't be in the game, you know what I mean? It's been definitely difficult in that sense, but I also know that we're in a pruning process. We're in a process of understanding that the journey of winning and the journey of learning how to be our best throughout a whole entire game, and learning how to continue to grow, learning how to stay together. We have one of the best defenses in the world. We have really good potential on offense. Potential doesn't mean anything. It just means that we haven't done it yet. But we're going to keep working for it. That's for sure. I thought we had a really good game for the most part on offense. Thought we moved the ball well. I thought guys made some really great catches. Cortland on the go ball down the sideline, the back shoulder go ball, that was amazing. He had a great game. I thought Kendall Hinton stepped up again. I mean, what a great play early in the game, the first drive of the game, where he catches it across the field, dodges the guy, dives and puts the ball over the goal line. They don't call it a touchdown for him, but what a great play. And the next play, we give the ball to 2-8, and he runs it right through there. What a tough run by him, and a great job of the O-line. I mean, there's a lot of really good things in the game, and so but not good enough. And, obviously this game meant a lot to us. Meant a lot to us for a lot of different reasons. Meant a lot to us to continue to keep that perspective and continue to keep pushing and everything else. But also, obviously, it's an AFC West game, and we got to win those, And so, yeah.
Russell, can you take us through the conversation during the 2-minute warning coming out to that 3rd and 10 play, and then sort of the decision to try to push the ball on the field, and then what you sort of saw as that play?
Yeah, when we called a pass play, it's 3rd and 10, called a pass play to try to end the game basically right there. We get a first down, the game's over. And then, they kind of covered it up pretty good. I kind of got outside the pocket, and then Virgil was coming scrambling down. Thought I had him and tried to take a shot to him. And the ball just, kind of went away for a little bit. But we got the best defense in the world, and, unfortunately, it didn't work out this time. They've been unbelievable all year. Stopping teams. And unfortunately, it didn't work tonight. And that's why us as an offense, we got to make sure we find more touchdowns, like I said earlier in the week, like I said, we moved the ball really well early in the game. We got all the way down there. Unfortunately, we didn't score a touchdown on that one. And then the field goal got blocked, unfortunately. So that score could have been 17-7, And so we gotta find ways to make more touchdowns. And that's what the name of the game is, right? So, that's something that I've always known how to do, and we gotta figure that out. And I thought Coach Kubiak called a great game. I thought, even with the big transition, obviously, of it all, I thought he was really sharp. He communicated well. I thought Coach J.O. was great on the sideline, too, Justin Alton. So it was smooth in that sense as well. So I thought the guys played really well. I want to give credit to the offensive line, too. They really battled all night. Those guys on the edge, Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, I've played Max a little bit, obviously, but also Chandler, how great he's been over all these years. Those guys did a tremendous job blocking up front, and they gave us a really great chance to win tonight, and unfortunately we didn't.
How was that transition to Kubiak? Were you practicing it all week? And, Russ, is there any worry about the status of Coach Hackett after another difficult loss and this team putting itself 3-7, unable to win in the division?
Well, first of all, going back to your first question, I think Coach Kubiak, he's called the game before. He's a tremendous coach. He's a great offensive mind. He's in the QB room every day, obviously coaching us up every day. So, we're always talking. And throughout training camp, he called plays too, some, and just, especially in practice and stuff like that. Justin Alton can call plays too as well. Obviously, Coach Hackett too. So we got 3 guys that can definitely, call it up for us, and they mix it up in practice. And, but I thought this week Coach Kubiak really did a great job of doing it throughout practice, and Coach Hackett too, and just communicating and what we wanted to do. And I thought we executed most of those things tonight for sure. I thought the guys, like I said, the offensive line, receivers, and all that, guys did some really good things tonight. Going back to your second question, can you ask what's your second question?
Coach Hackett, you worried at all about his status after another close loss like this, given what the expectations were coming into the season?
Listen, I think that any time you play this game professionally, anytime there's tough days, right, there's always talk, there's always chatter. We're going to do everything we can to turn this thing around. That's all we're focused on. We can't focus on anything else as a team, as players, as coaches, as a collective organization. We're all in, and we're going to do everything we can to get this thing turned around and focus on tomorrow. Focus on, how can we get better? And listen, I came here knowing that this is going to be a journey. Didn't come here for a quick, when everything, happens and, life changes like this. You have to be able to know that God's going to take you on a journey, and I'm willing to go as far as we need to go for it. I'm going to work my butt off every day. We're going to get these guys going every single day, the best that they can possibly be. And it's disappointing. It's disappointing for all of us. It's disappointing, definitely for me, and this team. But the only thing that we know is to keep going and keep working and understand that the journey is going to be worth it in the long run, and that's what we're focused on.
Russ, pretty much every year that you were in Seattle, you were in the playoffs and or obviously close to it. The couple of years you weren't. Maybe the injury was part of it last year for you. But for these guys that haven't been in it, Justin was just asked about the math. Your margin for error, I guess, is less and less. So how do you stay aware of that without dwelling on the fact that you really can't lose at this point and have a shot at the postseason?
We can't lose any more games. This is the truth. That's got to be our mentality. If we win every game, it still doesn't mean anything. Right, so the thing though is that how do you win every game? You win just one game at a time, one day at a time, one practice at a time. And that's all I know from winning. Winning is an obsession, a lifestyle with every single moment, every single day. Even on your worst days when things in life aren't going the way you want it to, or maybe you don't feel your best as a player, or maybe things are going on, whatever it may be, as a collective team, right? All those things are real, right? And when you got 53 plus guys fighting for the same thing, we all are trying to do it together. And I think in the midst of it, obviously, in the midst of this journey, like I was saying a little bit before, the winning part of it all is a process. It's a process of an everyday obsession, every day trying to be our best, trying to play better, trying to all do it together, not to blink an eye. True winners, when adversity hits, and I think this is a really critical point. True winners, when adversity hits, they don't blink. They don't blink.
Russ, you speak of a journey. Where did you expect to be on the journey when you first came here compared to where you are now?
Well, I think there's a lot that's happened, obviously. I mean, I think it's been difficult to see some of our best players go down. I think it's been difficult just for us to, obviously, like I said earlier, for us not to win these close games. We got to be able to win them. That's what, it's the National Football League. The percentages and the moments, they all come down to, most games come down to one-score games or possibly two-score games. That's the reality when you got good teams going after it. And so, I think that we all want to be further along. Like I said, today was we got better today, but it wasn't good enough. And so we got to just keep going. Yep.
Russ, what is your level just of personal frustration at this moment? Of you've had times in your career when it's time to make a play and one happens, but that has not really happened for you yet here, late game situations.
Yeah, it's happened a couple times for us, but not enough. I think, obviously in the 49ers game we made some big ones, and Houston game and some of these other games we've been close. But yeah, I mean, of course you're incredibly frustrated in the sense that, we know that we can be better. We know our record should be better. We know that where we should be right now is a lot further along than where we are. And that's probably the part that, you struggle with the most, but also too the part that gives you a small glimpse of understanding that we're going somewhere, and we have to understand that the only thing we can do is just get better. And we got 7 games ago. We got to have a relentless approach for the next 7 games and see where that takes us. And you can't control all the rest. You can't control anything else but your attitude. Can't control anything else but your work ethic. We can't control anything else but how we uplift each other and just keep working, and also challenge each other to be the best version of ourselves. We got to make every practice like the game. We got to make every moment understand that every play and every moment, every note, everything that we do is for us to be better and give us a chance, one day and soon and hopefully. And so there's a lot of games left. We got a lot of people that root for us, a lot of people that mean a lot to us, obviously from families to friends, but also obviously Broncos country. And we owe it to you guys to be better. We owe it to you guys for the next 7 games to get everything we have, which we have already, but we got to do more. We got to find more. So that's what we got to do, and that's the only thing I think about right now. Thank you guys. Yeah, appreciate it.